Awaken to Love podcast, episode 9, featuring Fungi Flows and Fae Wildflower.
Yeah, that me.
That's right. Coming to you from Mount Shasta, California, at Alyssa's house.
Yes.
Shout out to Alyssa. Thank you for holding the space for us here, wherever you are. Are you there? Are you there? Is she out there somewhere? Alyssa!
Hey, shouts.
Stoked to have Mr. Fungi Flows on the podcast. We've been talking about this for a couple months or something since I pitched it. Here we are. The prophecy fulfilled. We have set the intention, and we have both synchronistically, magically, we have synchronistically found ourselves in Mount Shasta.
Of course it was Shasta that brought us together.
Fungi Flows, what do you like to do with your life?
I like to rap.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You like to freestyle?
Yeah.
All right, lay one on me.
Oh, I forgot his beatbox was that dirty. Oh my god. Yeah, toss me a word, Faye.
Equanimous.
Check how we rockin' this off the top with this. All the vibes becoming equanimous. By the way, shouts to Equanimous. I ain't really sure if he really follows this, but I could teach you about mycology. It doesn't matter if you follow me. Equanimity up in the flow while the energy is getting equalized. All we need's a vibe, and he creates it through the beatbox. Fungi finna hit it in the sweet spot. Old school hip hop like Pete Rock is what I'm about to do. Pull out the antlers like a moose, my dude. Know I'm coming through in the back like a caboose when I run it, dude. I'm a wild animal, yo, I gotcha. You might catch me up in Montana. I got grammar that'll switch up the flow. Yeah, you already know. Oh, is that a trumpet with your voice, my bro? We about to go and switch it up and get it on low. You already know. This is a demonstration of what we do. Hey, look at what I'ma flow for. Up at Shasta, we just dodged the snowstorm. Yeah, but I'm still so warm. I might snowboard down the hill for real. Never tumbling like Jack and Jill. I'm just showing off the rapping skill. You already understand. Got it easy out, can of peace. Well, if it ever snows, that snow ain't landing on me. I keep my family dry when I be spitting well. I wish you well, yo, I'm deeper than the wishing well. I'm trying to go and throw some pennies for some good luck so I can get my abundance up. Yo, what up?
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So now it has been established what your wheelhouse is all about, you know? Some of us have multi-stringed instruments, and there's no reason for me to be playing this at this moment.
I'm really looking forward to it coming out though.
Okay.
Hey.
So,
That's what's sitar?
what is? Have you?
What's the name of this thing?
Have you heard what it was? Let me Google it. This is called a Chapman stick.
Oh.
Yeah. Chapman stick.
Glad I asked.
That's what it is.
So like chapstick, but a man.
You want to hear what it sounds like?
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely. There you go. Pull out that chapstick.
Okay.
Chapman stick. Oh. Of course, we're getting right into the music. Flint Blade. Legend in my books. Chill. Woo!
So pretty.
Damn.
Wow.
I need to learn to do that.
So maybe perhaps later in the podcast we will combine the Chapman sticking with the freestyling, flowing.
Let's do it.
You know? Well, let's get right into it.
Come on, man.
Fungi. What was your date of conception?
Wow. They gonna get my sign and everything off the bat. Y'all gonna look up the birth chart.
That's conception.
Hey. Oh, conception?
You gotta know when
Inception. Okay. April 23rd, 88.
What? Really?
Taurus.
You know that was your birthday?
Yeah.
What about when your parents?
When I was
conception.
conceived. That's like I didn't think I had the question right. Minus 9 months approximately. I don't know the date. It's a great question though.
This should be something that we talk about, in family life.
What would that have been? August? July, August.
What would that have been?
87, July 87.
You were born in 87?
Conceived.
Conceived in 87, born in 88.
I'd like to think so.
I was born in 1987 myself.
Mm.
Yeah, that means we are of similar age.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
When were you conceived?
All right.
This isn't the type of thing we talk about in family life.
Family matters.
Yeah, Stefan Urkel. He was my favorite. He was the cool version of Steve Urkel.
Stefan.
You remember that?
I don't.
Family Matters?
I don't remember for Stefan.
Okay, Steve Urkel, he
Uh-huh.
invented a machine that he could step inside of, and then he would transform into Stefan Urkel and be cool.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I didn't watch enough.
That was like later in the seasons
Okay.
when they were like running out of ideas, and they're like, all right, he's a geek, right? Is he a genius? Is he an inventor too? Yeah, let's make him invent a machine to make him cool. Yeah, Stefan Urkel.
Well, shout out to the word Urkel because that gave every rapper a word to rhyme with circle and purple. You know, there's not many Urkels, but Urkel is, you know, lifesaver.
Exactly. You know?
Yeah.
I know what you mean about that.
Hey.
So like, you know, like I'm curious about how you got into rap.
Well, I think a lot of it started with just like emulating Jay-Z and Eminem. Like my mom brought me up on alternative music, so I listened to like a lot of Nirvana and whatnot growing up. And I think that like sort of like, you know, teenagers are rebellious. I wanted to do something different, so
You
I
grew
got
up
into
with
rap.
Jay-Z and Nirvana? Is that what you said?
So my mom raised me on alternative rock, and,
Okay.
and then at one point, I was just sort of introduced to rap. I remember like Jay-Z's Life and Times of S. Carter Volume 2 was like one of the first tapes I really listened to all the way through, you know, on the old like CD player Walkman with the ESP and all that. I was on a bus and rocked that, and then started listening to some Eminem and just, you know, whatever was popular at the time. I wasn't, you know, too far down the rabbit hole as terms of hip hop goes yet, but you know, I started just learning their songs and blah blah blah. And you know, 6th grade, like they were like, okay, you sound pretty good, you know, like I'm just copying them, right? But fast forward a year later, I'm 13, and you know, we're starting to learn to freestyle and boom boom boom, like setting up beats on the lunch tables, and I won my first rap battle when I was 13, and the people just like, you know, basically like treated me like a celebrity and sort of like riding that wave of momentum of being exalted and celebrated, and just catapulted me into continuing the craft, you know. Yeah.
When was the first time you recorded some raps?
So 16.
Yeah.
First track is called Listen. You can actually still find it on YouTube. P-Dubs, Listen.
Did you make CDs at the time?
We put out, I think the first CD was 18 at the actual full mixtape. I put out a tape with my boy Sean Chase. Shout out to my homie. Man, we had a song called The Final Feast. Is sort of like underground, gritty, like shadow hip hop. Definitely like some different stuff. And yeah, we had a CD of that. And then fast forward a little bit later, I did a collab tape with some other musicians in Indiana, and then we had a tape on that. So
Like tapes,
tapes,
cassette tapes,
no CDs,
CDs.
Yeah.
You call them tapes.
I guess I call them tapes, like mixtapes. you
Yeah,
know.
mixtapes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like the word mixtape is used, and there's certain people who like doesn't even know like what is that supposed to mean. You know? Can you define a mixtape?
I guess for me, like a mixtape is just like almost like an album of randomness. I guess, you know,
Yeah.
like it's like, oh, we just throwing these songs on here, like this is our mixtape. I mean, I came up past the time of, you know, 8 tracks and cassettes and all that, you know, so
You think the terminology is like kind of just left over from when they were
Totally.
actually using tapes?
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. But they
sure.
still use the phrase.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
carried on to be whatever's next. I mean, even now, like we've evolved past CDs and you can still pop a mixtape on just straight digital stream, you know?
Right. Yeah. Just throw it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been thinking about making an album called like Scrapbook Memories, kind of like mixtape styles, just kind of like bringing it all together, just the unfinished stuff, some more finished stuff, just like everything that kind of just maybe doesn't have a place in like another album.
I think sometimes as artists, that's sort of like our constipation release is like, okay, all this stuff that I've done, like it deserves someplace. I don't know where to put it. We'll just smorgasbord it all together and just, even if we're not doing it for them, sometimes we're just doing it for us just to get it out.
Smorgasbord.
Yeah.
That would be a good word for the next freestyle.
Right. Or charcuterie, yeah.
Charcuterie.
Hey. Smorgasbord, yeah, we'll drop that first topic next rap.
Well, clearly that first freestyle that you did earlier in the podcast, that was like pre-rehearsed, obviously.
Yeah, you told me, the words that was going to be coming, and I wrote it down and then memorized it all, beforehand, yeah.
That's like mostly what people, like there's no real such thing as improvisation.
I don't exist no more, no.
Right? Yeah, no. I think it's funny when people see like a rapper and they don't believe that it can actually be improvised.
I mean, I take it as like flattery, it's like, that was so dope. There's no way you could have just came up with that on the spot. It happens very rarely, because people are exposed to it. Like, Harry Mack's starting to be popularized, and, if you tapped into like old Scribble Jam stuff, and like, like a lot of people are seeing now like what we could do with freestyle,
Scribble
but there's
jams.
still, that was an old freestyle battle thing. But there's still some people that are like Patrick under a rock where like they've never really heard a dope freestyle artist. And when you come off the top really hot, it's like it's automatically, assumed that it's all premeditated or written and you memorized it. Because I feel like a lot of the reasons, because if you go online, you go on YouTube, everything says freestyle, but it's a lie. Hot 97 freestyle, wake up show freestyle, but 97% of it is not a freestyle. It's that they changed the definition of freestyle to you put something that you wrote over a different beat. Oh. They drop you a random beat, and all of a sudden it's somehow freestyle, even though it's pre-written. So they destroyed the definition of a freestyle.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's definitely got to be like rappers out there who will step up to a freestyle and just spit something that is rehearsed.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And they'll just like, I don't freestyle much, but I write a lot, son. I don't know who said that.
I got no problem with writtens in a cipher. You know what I mean? Just don't call it freestyle. I like to almost like protect that word, sort of. Maybe I shouldn't hold on to it too much because it's already been destroyed, but it's my definition.
Well, what about improvisation?
Same thing. I mean, to me, that's a synonymous with a freestyle or coming off the top. It's all improvised, like it's all the same thing.
Yeah. Well, something I've seen like with musicians sometimes is they'll be like they'll do an improv jam and then they just have to like announce to the crowd like that was all completely improvised right off the spot. And like a lot of times it wasn't even, or like there was like, maybe it's something that they slightly worked out. And I don't know, sometimes I'm not saying that this is you. It's not like that you shouldn't announce that it was improvised, but sometimes people like overuse it as like a way of like trying to get some kind of wow factor. Have you seen that at all?
Maybe some, yeah. I mean, I think, if it is all truly improv, like there's no shame in like maybe saying that, but yeah, like I also think that like, if it is truly improvised, especially the lyrics, you shouldn't have to tell nobody because it's obvious. Like when I'm spitting, I'm picking stuff on the room. I'm going to talk about her. I'm going to talk about you. I'm going to talk about your instrument. I'm going to talk about this cacao we're drinking. Like, you don't have to tell nobody. Like, okay, obviously you didn't come in here and wrote about something that you even know about. You know what I mean?
Right. And plus, like you said, like if you're listening and like if you see like especially a group of people freestyling together and then somebody else pops in, just whatever, and especially if it becomes conversational, that's where it's like, I don't know, get over yourself if you don't think that it was improvised, or if you're still hung up on that. Like, it doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be even like impressive that it was freestyled. It's like, let's just appreciate the moment that just happened, or that is happening right now.
Exactly, yeah, because it's about that collective enjoyment. It don't have to be label this or that. So I'm saying, like, it's cool if like we're all ciphering, you come in with a written, it don't matter. And the end of the day is like we're all vibing, just don't mislabel stuff. Yeah.
Well, I'm enjoying this this moment with you and Faye on the couch.
Likewise.
Faye, hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah. Are you two in love?
I think so.
I love Fae.
It seems like, I mean, you guys are rolling together. And I saw you just like dancing and like twirling your wings around while he was freestyling yesterday.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
my thing.
It seemed like you were enjoying yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love backup dancing as a fairy.
Yeah.
Various wing types.
And
what have you.
it's like you probably don't see a lot that in like the rap sphere. You don't see a lot of like fairy backup dancing.
Oh yeah, we're cottagecore as hell. I got my ears on.
Oh yeah, you got those ears.
Show 'em.
Yeah. You know, you look very presentable. It's like way more so than, I don't know, me. I didn't even like do anything. I've just been wearing this all day.
Oh, that's just what I slapped on for today, but thank you.
Yeah. Slapping it on for the podcast.
Hey.
Or for the day ahead.
Yeah, it was raining out, so I wore my water fairy outfit.
Right.
Water fairy. And what is this necklace, this round piece?
Oh, this is a tensor ring. So our friend makes it. And yeah, they're made of copper. It's double twisted, and essentially it restructures the hydrogen in your body.
Ooh.
So I'm restructuring my water to be all Gucci.
You're getting your internal water like structured.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's a vibe.
Yeah, I'll let you try it later. It can't come off right now, but
I like that.
It's supposed to like create light, like this, like actually change your aura because there's like light created in the middle. I'm not an expert on how these work, but basically like the copper is electric, and the way that it's twisted, double twisted, and then it goes in a circle, rather than creating like one toroidal field that goes just out, like projected out based upon like the spin, like the way it's twisted. Because it's like double twisted and spun together, it creates like a double toroidal field, and then that basically loops like a ankh. So you have like this like continuous flow of energy that's coming through the tensor ring, and so it's almost like a purifier of energy.
Coming through the tensor ring with the toroidal field emanating.
if you take a picture of these in, was it aura photography?
Curlian?
Oh, I don't know.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, then you can actually see that it like emits light. So that's dopeness.
So toroidal is like the shape of the torus,
It's,
right?
Yep.
yeah, it's like a
Torus.
it's like a donut,
Uh-huh.
you know.
As above, so below
Hey.
kind of style,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, think about an apple. You know, if you cord it, I like to believe that that's the shape of the Earth, or at least the Earth's electromagnetic field. It's definitely the shape of our electromagnetic field. So, yeah.
I believe you. I'll take your word for it on that. I haven't done the measurements myself.
Yeah, neither have I. I just seen some pictures.
Well, I like the pictures that you've seen that you have described.
I'm transmitting them to your mind right now telepathically.
Yeah, I'm getting some imagery in my mind's eye. You
Very
guys
good.
gotta believe him. He's got a mushroom on his head.
Facts. Don't follow me.
Well, how about another freestyle?
Let's do it.
All right, I'm gonna step up. I'm gonna stand up and do that style right now.
Stand up time. Okay.
Give me a tempo.
Beautiful. Yeah. Everybody take a deep breath. Everybody take a deep breath. Yeah. Said everybody take a deep breath. Let it go, and everybody take a deep breath. Yeah. I got more for ya. Metamorphosizing inside. I got more for ya. Yeah, it's a smorgasbord of rhymes that I can make up. Hey, look at the space that we take up. I'm so grateful when I wake up to reflect upon all of my gratitudes. It's what I had to do. Staying in this moment. Yeah, you know it. When I'm doing me, I'm never bored like charcuterie. But y'all can get a samples of these meats and cheeses. You best believe it. Got a couple crackers too that you can put some sauce on off the top. Gotta offer a lot, whatever y'all want when I rhyme, bruh. Get a whole platter of appetizers. Yeah, you know I got more for ya. What rhymes with that? Cornucopia, never corny though. I can cope with the flow when I give it. Wait, it all goes back because with the cornucopia in symbology, you might think of Thanksgiving. And I already started with the gratitude, so you understand that that is my attitude. We got a whole feast. It's not the final one, not the last supper, but I'm surviving, son. Actually, I'll be thriving. Today is the 9th, and this is the climax. This is the one where it ends, and it goes back to where it all begins. Yeah, now you know. He said, give me the verbal tempo. I said, okay, here's a little bit of beatbox. Time for me to hit the streets. Watch me do my thing. I spit, y'all. Running fast, I ain't never hit no brick wall. If I did, then for all my fam, I would run through that like the Kool-Aid man.
Turbo.
You all my words flow. I'm going fast now, rapping this with turbo. Words flowing up in the dome whenever I'm rocking the flow. She was like, go turbo, kinda like Sonic Bro. Really, I done got for you. Going so fast, boy, it's like a sonic boom. Young gal on the track when I'm rocking through. I was like, ooh, damn, look at this vibe he bringing. Got me kinda wanting to sing, you can see high. Let me go and smoke the peace pipe, send some prayers up in the smoke to the highest. You know what this is, we align with the touch like Midas with the flow. Golden every time that we rhyming with it, bro, yo. You got me on a different zone, lit up like a lantern at the festival of fireflies. When I'm rhyming, I defy the highest tide. I am the guy who rhymes. Y'all can catch a vibe with this with no net, best-ish. Y'all can catch me on the Netflix. We got the special going, the blessed with flow, and you know what we gonna do. Hey, good music in the podcast, baby. Yeah, you know we had the flow for you. Hey, it's Mr. Fungi Flows and Flint with the blade out here. Yeah, you know it's very awesome. You can catch me only for a limited time, like a cherry blossom. Sweet with the flow, ass wildflower, baby. Yeah, she already knows. We got the cherry blossom coming off of the trees. Thinking of the Japanese when I can rap to beats. Yo, this is Oriental blessed, bruh. Indian flow, yeah, try for Ganesha. Y'all know what it do. Running like the elephant through all of the obstacles. Now let me drop this flow, yeah. I've never stopped through the blockages. Deep dog, I'm about to teach y'all like some leapfrog. Whoa, that's a double entendre. Maybe they didn't know. Really glad to be hopping all up off my lily pad. Lead frog over top of your back. I'm dropping these raps really off the top of the cap. It's Mr. Mushroom Man. Fungi Flows, having a fun time with Flint Blade, baby, you know. Oh, now I'm just grateful to have fun with this conversation. I'm a star, baby. Check the constellations. You can check it out here when I spit, bruh. I'm feeling big, something like the Dipper. Quick and pick me up, but when I'm blowing these rhymes, big constellations, baby, yeah, I'm up in the sky. Wait, I said big with the Big Dipper for so. You can catch me out here rapping it, bro. Yo, they still amazed at the way these rhymes make like the Milky Way, and you can see it up top when you looking on through. All you gotta do is open your moon roof. Ooh. I let the stars all shine. Yo, let me rap to beats. She sells her crafts right back in the menagerie. That's how it has to be. You already know when I'm rapping, though. Bro, yo, he's really channeling another vibe. Hey, I'm doing this because I love the rhyme. Out here, let me talk to ya. He got it coming right now through the Yamaha. I keep it cooler than your fridge. Hey, yo, it's time we get it in. I got a mini refrigerator right up in the RV. Yeah, it's time that we party, pull out the kombucha. We making some tasty with some fresh squeezed orange juice up on the daily. You know how it goes. When I see scores, swear to God I'm never lazy like Eeyore. But you could go and pin the tail on the donkey. Please don't try to call me a honky. Hey.
Don't call him a honky. Don't call him late for dinner. Don't call him as a loser. Cause you know he's a winner.
Hey.
Breathing deep. Breathing so deep. Getting good sleep. Yes. Breathing so deep.
Certified banger.
Alright. That was a good one.
Safe to say we caught a vibe.
Catching vibes like butterfly nets.
It's so hard to throw in topics when you're trying to listen to the bars.
I forgot, what is this thing called?
A Chapman stick.
That's right.
Chapstick.
You know all about it.
Hey, it's beautiful and sexy.
Okay, I'm gonna sit back down now.
Come on now.
So relaxed. Oh yeah. Gotta make sure I'm not blocking nothing. Okay.
And we're back.
Yeah. All right. Faye, how did you get into rap?
Hey.
Oh boy, howdy, mister. I don't know. I enjoyed tek-9 in high school, but I didn't really like delve into anything until I met him, and then I liked his stuff the most. So
you weren't like delving.
no, I wasn't like a hip hop head or nothing. I was more alternative rock and stuff.
I think I forgot to put the coconut sugar in the cacao. It's
So tasty.
It's completely bitter, isn't it?
I like it.
Yeah, it's straight.
It's yummy.
All right, we're good.
Real deal.
We're good. So, let's how about we go deeper?
Let's do it.
Go deep in.
Come on now.
Well, you know what? Before we go any deeper, when did the mushroom persona become yourself?
I like that.
When did the fungi flows and the mushroom hat? When did this all coalesce into what you currently do?
Okay. So I was introduced to mushrooms probably around like 18 when I started college.
Which kind of mushrooms?
Psilocybin.
Psilocybin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are like decriminalized in Oregon,
Yeah, sure.
right? I'm pretty sure.
I think it was 4 days ago. I saw that on Paul Stamets.
What? 4 days ago? I thought it's done been.
Okay, so there was a new
maybe
thing
Portland,
passed.
Oregon. I think Portland.
Maybe it was specifically Portland. Then?
I think
okay.
longer
We'll go
than
with
that. I
We'll go
think.
with that. Okay.
Even, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know the laws, but
neither.
I know Cali, the whole dang West Coast, is pretty chill about the shrooms.
And we're out here.
Yeah,
Hey.
here we are.
So yeah, you
Yeah,
know,
tell-
I
go on.
didn't know anything about any other mushrooms. You know, it's like, hey, here's some mushrooms. First couple times were a little bit weird. You know, I wouldn't say it was a bad trip because I don't believe in bad trips. You know, you learn a lot from having tough times. But the first 2 times, I don't even know why I did it after that because they really weren't that great. But I remember at one point I went to college at Pitt University. There's this Cathedral of Learning, very big building. I remember we snuck out onto the roof of that one of my trips in college, and that was a little bit more magical. So I was starting to like be introduced to, you know, some of like, you know, the magic of what the mushroom holds, you know. But fast forward, I was I want to say 23, and I took a half ounce, and it was sort of like this God experience. Very long story short, basically like played Bruce Almighty.
Does that mean like 14 grams?
Correct. Yeah.
Is that kind of like a lot
I think it's a lot. I think
for
they
people
say
who haven't tried mushrooms?
they say heroic dose is 5 grams. So we're looking at like triple that.
That's what Terrence McKenna said, right?
That's what he says. Yeah.
He knows a lot about mushrooms.
He does. You know, I mean, I think 5 is going to be like a pretty full blown experience. Like I don't know how many people I'd recommend a 14 to. But this just happened to be like, was like broke through the matrix, like realized my power, wanted to test the limits of reality and finally experiment with like, you know, what we're capable of. Faye and I were talking about this a little bit on the ride here. Is like there's a bench and it's like, well, I should be able to like physically move through this matter, but I can't. It's like, what limits does my vessel have? Like we're talking about teleportation. Like we naturally have the ability to teleport, but like, why can't we? Because I think, you know, in my mind, it's like all I have to do is visualize it, intend it, and I'll be there. But my physical body still keeps me here. Like we have all these capabilities as the gods in the flesh that we are, but we're sort of limited by this in this physical reality. So I sort of started to wake up to like testing all that and just seeing like, you know, what I'm capable of doing in this dream. And I turned stoplights red to yellow to green. I turned street lights on and off. I made the sun go up and come down. I had birds chirping
During
too.
that trip?
Yeah. And you know, it's like, who's to say like what's real and what's not? It's like, that was my experience. And in the end, I do believe that I sort of did like do some sort of a teleport and then also unlocked a mechanism with my mind, a lock to get back into the apartment building I was in. So a lot of very interesting things happened, to say the very least. And I sort of just like broke through the fog of all the cannabis smoke that I was in. Like, just my life up to that point was just bong after bong after bong. And this sort of like pushed that mist, that cloud away, and was like, showed me some real like clarity and self-empowerment for the first time. And I was like, okay, so this is the power of the mushroom. And ever since then, my life changed. And just slowly but surely, like over the next decade or so, I continued to experiment. And sort of like further down the line, I was like, discovered my purpose, which I could tell the story about. But basically, long story short, again, my purpose was music and mushrooms, so I infused them into being a rapper named Fungi. And I sort of started to implant that through graffiti, through writing, through putting stickers and graffiti into the streets, sort of planting this seed in the subconscious mind of the collective of Fungi Flows. And then I sort of had this mastermind plan that like I would be Fungi Flows. I trajected when psilocybin would potentially be legalized, and was like, well, if I'm the rapper named Fungi, then as Wiz Khalifa was to cannabis, hopefully I can sort of be the face, the mascot, the spokesman for the mushrooms through the art of hip hop, and just be that guy. Yeah.
Be that guy.
Yeah.
Here you are.
Bam.
So I want to touch on some of the things that you just said. And at the same time, like it occurs to me that some of the listeners might be like completely just like not in the world of where like psychedelics are even permissible, or like, I know my Aunt Nancy watches this podcast.
Okay.
Hi, Nancy.
Yeah, right.
And Aunt Nancy is totally cool. And, she's always like encouraging me, like in like reading the Bible and stuff like that, which I do. And, she probably, I'm just going to guess, Aunt Nancy like thinks that mushrooms and like psychedelics are just like, no, we're not supposed to use them, So, when you said that, like, I'm just acknowledging there's people who might watch that and be like, oh, you guys are a bunch of druggies.
Sure, yeah.
A lot of people think that mushrooms are just like any other drug, and drugs are just drugs, and drugs are bad.
Mm-hmm.
And, whether or not saying that all drugs are drugs and all drugs are bad, that certainly could be said that all drugs are different.
Oh, yeah.
Like, mushrooms are not weed.
Oh, no.
Mushrooms are not heroin.
Nope.
Right? So you said that you had been like using cannabis heavily.
Yep.
And then you took mushrooms and you were like, I don't need to use cannabis heavily. Is that true?
Yeah, so I definitely went back to smoking at some point afterwards, and continued on and off for about the next 10 years. I'm not using cannabis anymore, smoking wise. But yeah, I mean, completely, totally opposite vibrations. Like, weed's like very much like relaxed, and when you overdo it, which a lot of us tend to do because it is actually very addictive, then I believe that it lowers your vibration and sort of limits your potential, But I
When
think
you're using it a lot.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, props to the people who have found a way to, use it in moderation in the right way to, utilize that fuel and that energy to create something. I'm not here to knock cannabis whatsoever. But the mushrooms is a completely different vibe. I believe it's much more uplifting, empowering, and can also be sort of like an energetic cleanse whenever you do those reset doses, for all the chakras. And, it not only woke me up in sort of like my third eye crown area with that Bruce Almighty experience, but also helped me to unlock my throat, vocalize my purpose, my passion, my heart as well, and infuse love into my music, and then to clear out some of the lower channels of like limiting programs and beliefs that, stuck with me for so long and helped me remember like, like we're this full energy circuit rather than I think sometimes with intense cannabis use, you can get stuck in the lower chakras.
And so like after you had these profound mushrooms experiences, like, with weed where you were like smoking bongs all day, did you find mushrooms to be like, I'm going to eat mushrooms all day, every day?
No, for me, it was like it was always intimidating, especially once I had the big trip, sort of like anti-addictive of like, okay, well, now I'm going to dabble. And, I was pretty much like, just like my first time doing DMT was like afterwards, I'm just like, okay, like I have reverence for this thing and I'm not going to abuse it. And it's hard for me to understand how anyone could, because it's like, man, you have like a rough trip, like, or just like even a big trip. That's a lot of energy. Like, how could you like want to do it the next day? And it doesn't even work that way. Like your serotonin or whatever is just depleted. You know what I mean? Like you can't just like trip again like the same way the next day. Like it don't work like that.
I've read that mushrooms are like self-regulating with the usage, because it's not gonna hit you the same as hard, but it's not the same as like your tolerance are reduced and then you want to do more and more to reach that. It's more like you just realize that you don't need to be doing it day after day.
Right.
Yeah. So the psilocybin was kind of like the impetus in like you kind of like developing this Fungi Flows persona.
Absolutely.
And these days, are you doing mushrooms all the time?
That's a really good question. I like to make this clear. People automatically assume being fungi flows, being the mushroom man, that, I'm tripping all the time. Like I even got a comment today, like, just wearing my mushroom cap on Mount Shasta. I said, see you shroom. And this guy's like, oh, you must be up there just taking mushroom, since I've been here, or since we started our road trip, I think I microdosed twice and we're on day 8. So basically I'm at like once a year reset dose. I like to do on my birthday. And then I'll microdose sometimes. For the past 5 months, before this trip, I probably only microdosed like literally a couple times. I just sort of started to get back in this regimen of wanting to experiment more with microdosing with the Stamets stack, which is adenine, niacin, and lion's mane.
Paul Stamets advocating small, tiny, minute amounts of psilocybin mixed with lion's mane, which is non-psychedelic. So tell me about what a microdose does for you in comparison. What does it do? And then in comparison to like a reset dose, and what is your reset dose?
It's another great question. The microdose for me the other day was 0.2, and honestly it was too much because I felt it.
0.2 of a gram.
0.2 grams.
So when you take a microdose, you want to not feel it.
Correct. Subperceptual will be the definition.
Right.
This was not subperceptual. I was coming up too much. What were we at? Like the gas station, like doing normal things. I'm sticking to 0.1.
Well, that could be the Mount Shasta amplification.
Yes, big facts.
He's a lightweight, though. Like, he's a heck of lightweight.
True.
So.
Very sensitive.
Heck of lightweight.
But a microdose and a macrodose are night and day. Like you said, like a microdose is supposed to be subperceptual. A macrodose, a proper full macrodose, is going to be a total reset, and you might have an ego death. You might completely leave this reality. I like to just say I die. I die and I come back.
How much do you take for a reset dose?
Well, my last one was about 30 grams.
30.
Too hard.
That's twice as much. That's more than twice as much as the big one that.
And she's right. It's too much.
He did too much. That story is not a good story.
Okay. Was that the most you've ever taken?
Yeah, the 30 gram was the most I ever did.
Wow, so you like really challenged yourself for that one.
Yeah, and it was enigmas too.
That was your last birthday dose?
I want to say that was like 2 birthdays ago. No, the last birthday, which was recent, I was chilling. I was scared. I was scared after that 30. I was like, I think I did like 3 or 4.
He almost set himself on fire. Well,
Yeah.
you were on fire.
Yeah, because things get dangerous when you're not in this reality and you don't have a babysitter or a trip sitter. Like I had a fire. Next thing I knew, I was in the fire, and like I smelled my hair burning. Thank God, and that kind of pulled me out of it. And then like I wound up in my tent, and that collapsed over and over, and like trying to pull my hair out. Yeah,
Did you get burned like on your skin? Do you have like wounds?
You know what I had? I was mostly my body in the fire, and I had this really, really nice like Carhartt whatever type jacket that like took the burn, and I realized, I didn't.
Were you wearing shoes?
No. But it was just my torso, I think, mostly in my fire. I wasn't a big fire.
Okay.
But yeah, once I woke up in a fire, just like I can't there's you gotta be responsible with the game, and
You don't say.
yeah, so I learned a lot.
And you were all alone,
I was all alone in the middle of the woods.
middle of the woods.
This is the way I like it.
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Allegheny National Forest.
Wow. Interesting.
So my last one was like, okay, let's chill. So I did like 3 or 4 gram tea, set my little candles out and everything, and it was definitely not a reset. Like this is one of the most interesting things is like I had almost like this voice come to me and was like, take more. And for me, it was like, I need to know what this voice is before I trust it. Like, is this like the mushrooms talking, my higher self talking, some random entity talking, like what is this voice I hear? Like, I needed it to identify itself first before I was going to listen to it and trust it. And in hindsight, I probably should have just listened and taken more. But I had this whole thing of like, I need to know like what's speaking to me right now before I do anything, and I never got clarity on what that was. So I was like, screw it. I'm chilling at this dose, So I still have so much to learn when it comes to the psychedelic experience. It was only like 4 grams.
4 grams.
Yeah.
But can we circle back to what microdoses do for you and like your brain and stuff? Because I think that's important.
Super important. I mean, everybody who wants to get into mushrooms should microdose, and this reconnecting potentially broken neural pathways to help you, realign your mind, which is everything. The mind is the conduit between the body and spirit. And so whenever your mind is properly connected, then spirit's channeling through into your body. And I think the formula is that simple. We can go on and on about it, but the microdoses are rewiring your brain.
So they're rewiring your brain, but at the same time, you feel that it's low enough of a dose that you don't really feel like anything is happening.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, if you're really, that's where we want people to get. Like when I get people on a microdose regimen, it's like, let's figure out your dose where it's subperceptual. Let's get you to that point where you're barely starting to feel it. And then let's also do that one where like, not whatsoever effects over multiple days. And we want to sort of meet in the middle of like, you're starting to feel the effects over days, but like it's not hitting you like you're coming up. Like it's usually for people, it's a 0.2 or 0.3 grams.
So a microdose, subperceptual, you're not going to feel it. Is this the kind of dose you can like just go about your normal day and just like go to work,
yes,
function, and like people probably would never even notice unless you actually told them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can just function in normal society like this. That's the point of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like to always be on a microdose.
Every day.
Yeah. But he says you should actually take a break like every few days or something. So. Yeah,
she's different though. She's a truck, like completely opposite of me. Yeah.
You wouldn't think.
Yeah, right. It's odd.
Cool. So, rewiring your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Please explain that. Do you mean? And I think I know what you mean, but I'm just like kind of like for people listening, rewiring your brain. Does that mean that the mushrooms are just like making you think what they want you to think?
Maybe so, and maybe we need to allow the mushrooms to help us think. I don't know. I mean, I like to believe that as the oldest and largest organism on this planet, the fungi, that they are here as our aids. So in whatever ways that are to aid us, aids could be a bad word, but they're here to help us, and they have an intelligence to them. And I believe that whenever we ingest them, that they intelligently read our DNA, they read our cells, and they know like what it is that we need. And so I think that they sort of custom rewire our brains and connect neural pathways that may have been broken due to trauma or whatever it might be, and like bring those back into connection so we can hopefully be firing on all cylinders.
Firing on all cylinders, maximizing our potential.
Bam.
Contributing to the world in helpful, beneficial ways.
Yeah.
Right?
Hopefully not just to the man in the matrix, but yes, beneficial ways to all of humanity and creation in alignment with our purpose. Hopefully.
Beautiful. All right. Well, you know, we could come back to the mushroom and the tripping discussions.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about your spiritual leanings, and both of you actually, and you know, if you grew up in any like religious contexts, and if you have anything to say about that.
Faye, you want to start?
Okay. Yeah, I was raised super Christian. My dad's still super Christian. Hi, Dad. I know you're definitely not watching this. And yeah, it was really intense for me because he had, as a young boy, he had an experience where like he did something his parents told him not to. He accidentally got hit by a car, and then he saw himself like floating through the red tunnel of fire with like people screaming at the end. And so he told me that growing up, and I was like, okay, so hell is real, and if I mess up and like don't repent for it, then I'm going to hell. So like my whole childhood was just like based in fear. And then I ended up having my old best friend from high school like move in with me after college, and he told me magic was real, and I was like, okay, what are you talking about, you little crazy boy? But then I actually perceived it. So he introduced me to weed. So that was cool. So that kind of started me like actually meditating and feeling into energies and stuff. And he had this tapestry that he would charge up with magic. And I didn't really believe him at first. But then one night I felt like so much energy at my back. And he ended up entering his room, and that energy just zoomed right to him and followed him across the room. And I was like, okay, so this shit's real. So then I started like learning about magic, going to classes, doing like tarot readings and stuff, and they were like kind of helping me like, oh, you need to get out of this situation, like the relationship you're in isn't good, and da da da. So then, yeah, I became pagan. I really like Celtic paganism and Norse paganism. But yeah, I realized that with the learnings that I went through, that at least what I believe is that when we die, we perceive whatever it is that we believe to kind of like soften that blow. So my dad had that experience because that's what he believed in. However, like if he were to like fully die, it would transform into what the afterlife actually is. It's just kind of like a cushion. Like, okay, this is what you believe, we'll give you that, but then like we'll take you out of that and actually like bring you to what the afterlife is. So yeah, I started believing that fairies weren't just demons because being raised Christian, like everything that's not an angel is a demon, and all that. So I don't know, I'm happier now. I believe in reincarnation, and I think that's my share.
Do you find any like value in like any of the Christianity that you were raised in?
I do. I mean, it teaches, like, I believe that Jesus, or as his original name, at least what I believe his original name is meant to be, Yeshua, I believe that he was here to like show the way. Like he says, I am the way, right, in the Bible, but really he's saying like, I'm showing you the way. Like I am embodying Christ consciousness, and he does say that we can all do what he did. We can all do the miracles that he did. He's not saying, like, I'm the only one and you must bow to me. He's saying, like, no, I'm here to lead by example. Like, you should all try to be like me. You should all lead from love. And, like, we can do all these wonderful miracles and everything. We just need to get there. We need to connect with God, which is actually, like, ourselves. But, yeah, it's all kind of been bastardized, I guess is the word. Which, yeah, I don't want to piss anyone off.
Piss them off. Come on.
People are gonna get pissed off if they are going to do so.
They're already probably pissed off that we're taking mushrooms. So let it be.
But yeah, now I'm getting all red.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, this is this is relevant to me because I personally have been having been raised Catholic and kind of like distancing myself from the Catholic Church for like my own reasons, not because of Jesus, but because of the people in the Catholic Church.
Yeah, Jesus is great. We love Jesus.
Right. Nowadays, I am, praise him. We love Jesus. Nowadays, I am like kind of tapping back into the spiritual, relevance of Jesus and biblical teachings and all of this. So I'm kind of like just re-examining, things that I was taught as a kid, and also kind of comparing like, the Catholic Church with other denominations and things like this. And, I feel like very, like these days, like Jesus is all I need spiritually. So at the same time, I will stop short of labeling myself a Christian. And similarly, in a way of like, I strongly prefer a diet of vegan food, but I still don't call myself a vegan. And I'm also like, I've expressed, in previous episodes and to Christian friends of mine that I want to bring Christians onto the podcast and have discussions. So that said, to any Christians listening, if they even haven't like turned it off at this point,
we love you.
Facts.
I am like truly hoping that anybody who can like disagree with what we're saying here on this podcast, that they will still be willing to come on the podcast and tell me what they really think, or telling me personally if they don't actually want to go on the podcast. But I hope they will see value in like coming onto the podcast so that, I can give them space to speak and be heard. And like, let's have a discussion. And, one thing I've noticed with like the culture of Christianity is that Christians tend to kind of like isolate themselves a lot, to where like, Christian media only involves other Christians. So it's Christians talking to Christians, not usually talking to, I don't know, whatever. Non-Christians.
Sure.
It's like they don't want to be polluted in a way because it's so fear-based, and that's my issue with it. It's like, I don't believe that we're meant to live in fear of like pissing God off. I feel like God created us to enjoy this plane and to enjoy experience. And yeah, like, we're not supposed to go murdering each other or like any of those like capital crimes. Like, you shouldn't steal from people still. Like, all like the tenets of Christianity, like the base roots of it are like good teachings. So like, I can still get down with it. But I just think that, yeah, like the fear of hell is how it was spread to control us. In a way, like the Crusades, what the fuck was that? Would Jesus want you to go murdering everybody? Like, come on, nah, like that. That's not the way.
Certainly not.
So,
no, I don't think Jesus ever wanted anyone to kill anyone else in the name of Jesus.
Yeah. So, it's the fear base that gets me.
Well, it's interesting because, in the Bible, there are passages that like almost seem to contradict themselves, which is like some people use that as a way to cast doubt on the Bible.
Well, man wrote it,
Sure. Christians would say that that it was, divinely inspired by God to write down, and I'll give it that. But I like, when I see these contradictory passages, I just see it more as like there's just more to it. Like, it just gives us more to think about, and like to ask, why does this part contradict this other part? Like, what are these different parts intended for us to glean from it?
And it's the translations too. Like, the translations have changed so much, and people have gone back and retranslated the old Hebrew, and it's so different. Like, when it says man shall not lay with man, that's not what it actually said. It said man shall not lay with boy, as in, like, you should not fuck children. That makes sense. Like, it doesn't actually say anything against being gay, and I think God made gays to fix overpopulation, just like Bo Burnham said. So,
well, that was definitely
Took a leap there. Let's go.
No, that's interesting because that's a notion that occurred to me as a child. And when I was a kid going to Catholic school, Catholic church, I would talk to my mom about all kinds of things. And that was something that just popped into my mind one day. It was like, maybe gay people exist because we don't need all of us to be reproducing as much as we do. That said, me personally, I'm on this like new path of like pursuing sexual purity, which we could go into what that means.
yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah. Regardless, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, similar, like, came up in the Lutheran denomination of, I guess, Catholicism. It's an interesting word to say.
Yeah, I think I've heard that Lutheran is like Catholic light. Is that what they say?
I could, yeah, that feels right.
I think they've said that about Episcopalians. Anyway,
they seem very similar,
Right.
but it's basically, like, I was sent to Sunday school and church. My mom wasn't super religious, but just felt like, I should do that. So, you come up learning about Jesus, and, the interesting thing about Jesus for me is that, in my times of being most vulnerable in life, like putting myself out there the most, which was my hitchhiking days, it seemed like Jesus came to me a lot. People would pull over and tell me, hey, Jesus told me to pull over for you. Somebody said, like, Jesus moved my foot from the gas to the brake so that I would get you. People would hand me Jesus pamphlets. Go to the gas station, someone gives me a Jesus card. Like, now granted, some of my hitchhiking was through the Bible Belt, but like really through most of my hitchhiking journeys, like Jesus was just the main theme, But besides that, like, Jesus was not really like super present, like, boom, in my reality, So, Jesus is an interesting thing because it's like, we think of Jesus and we see this like white face that almost like even looks kind of like me in a way. But like, if Jesus was a real person, he was probably brown skin, And then Jesus also like is deeper than just Jesus in the flesh. Like, Jesus can also be a metaphor for the sun in the sky. Jesus can also be a metaphor for the mushroom, the Amanita muscaria, which I made a song about. So Jesus, just like the Bible, I don't think is necessarily always to be taken at face value. I think that, especially when you read the Bible, a lot of it's symbology. A lot of it's meant to, almost be decoded to read deeper into. I think that you can really get lost and confused easily if you take the passages at surface value. I think they're almost like code to something deeper, as is other holy texts, So, yeah, I mean, the Crusades were rough, It's like Christianity won because of a lot of people died, you know what I mean? Like, I went to a trip in Colombia, and the bus taking you through the mountains in Colombia had a little white Jesus, bobblehead on the Christianity's made it like everywhere, you know what I mean? And that's because of, violent people who spread, the word of Jesus and of God, into these different places. So I'm not against Jesus. I'm not against Catholics. I'm not against, necessarily religion at all, but I do feel like religion does tend to create a division. Like you said, the Catholics only speaking to the Catholics. And where I'm at is just, we're all one, and religion is pieces, puzzle pieces to a bigger picture, like the Hindus and Muslims and, name all the other different religions. They all have a puzzle piece. And when you put them all together, I think you can see the picture of God more clearly, which, as you're saying, I do believe is basically, all of us combined. We're all gods and goddesses. And whenever we put it all together, the capital God is basically the universal consciousness that connects us all.
Word.
Yeah.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God.
Man of God. Yeah.
I was just talking about that. That's like the beginning of the Gospel of John. I was just talking about that earlier with my friends. I forgot. I almost thought it was you guys because we're in the same room and you guys are on the same couch. Word. Well, that is a respectable viewpoint to each of you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Do you wish to share any more on that topic? I don't know if you wanted to dive into the sexual purity thing or speak anything more on your religious beliefs, or where you want to take it from here.
Well, yeah, I've talked about it actually in the past 3 episodes of the podcast, sexual purity, as far as when I was a kid, I was always taught abstinence until marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And basically I'm pretty sure everybody that I grew up with did not practice abstinence, or they broke abstinence before they got married, me included. Nowadays, now that I am single once again after my last relationship ended, now I am wholeheartedly attempting to be completely abstinent until I find someone that wants to get married with me. If that is actually meant to be. And if it doesn't happen, then that means I'm just gonna be pursuing my music.
You don't believe in marriage?
Okay, well let's talk. Let's talk about that.
So a lot of our experiences in life shape our beliefs. So my parents divorced when I was 2, so that affects my view on marriage right off the bat as a young child. But one of the biggest moments for me was I was hitchhiking with one of my exes, and we had a pretty tight relationship. But this couple that picked us up, they had demonstrated one of the greatest energies I've ever seen in a couple. And it's very rare. I mean, I've done this many times. It's I can count on one hand or less couples that I feel are very strong representations of a balanced divine feminine masculine, a really strong couple that I would look up to as an example. So I don't feel that there's really many strong couples out there. But this couple was, their vibe was just incredible. You could feel it was just ride or die 100%, and they basically were marriage is a contract. And when we get into contracts, it shifts the energy. And the only thing that actually truly matters at the base of any relationship, the foundation of any connection, is trust. And they're just we trust each other. So we don't need to sign this agreement. We don't need to have, prenups or whatever these different things are that we get into based on fear. Or maybe we get married because the government's going to give us money, so it's based on scarcity. Or we get married and we have these agreements that take half at the end because we're scared that the person's going to leave us. A lot of the times I think marriage is based out of insecurity and fear. That's not to say all are. There's great marriages out there. But I don't believe that, you need to sign a contract with the state or with the government or whatever in order to have a bond. Our bond is our trust. Our bond is our word that we have with each other. And they were basically we have the best relationship and we're not married. And they just demonstrated to me wow, their connection is pure. I could feel it wasn't tainted by some document that binds them. And also like the ring sort of symbolizing, like if you really look in the symbolism of the ring that people wear, you know, that's another form of basically like enslaving the people, like a chain would be, of like, you know, you're in this thing and like now you're locked in this thing. And I believe it restricts freedom. I believe that deep down we all truly want to experience deep freedom. Now I don't think there's anything wrong with deep commitment. I think it can really help you grow. But I don't believe in like in the system marriage. I believe that the marriage between two people would be the trust and the bond of love in which they share for each other.
Word. Well, I do agree with you that people don't need to involve the state and the government into marriage. I am totally a proponent of marriage, but I think that marriage is valid, even if it's not a legally binding contract. To me, I think I agree with what I've heard Christians say, which is that God invented marriage, not the government.
Okay.
You could probably easily say that humans invented marriage, but in other words, I think that the value of marriage is the intention and the agreement between two people that they want to commit, you know, to each other romantically and through life, through the ins and outs and the ups and downs. And I think that it's just as valid without bringing the government into it. So that's my take on marriage.
And then I'll just share what I've heard you say, which was that, like, what you need potentially changes. And so that's why, you know, divorces happen, is because, like, yes, like, you're entirely on this person's level at this point in time. However, there may be a moment in which, like, you want to, like, delve into more spirituality, and, like, maybe she doesn't, and, like, you raise your vibration, you raise your, like, point of views and everything, and maybe she's, like, a negative Nelly, and so you grow apart, and then you have to, like, have this divorce, and then eventually, like, oh, well, this other person actually, like, much more matches, like, my vibration and what I have to give and everything. And so, like, he says that we change as we, like, go through life, and so what and who we need may change, right?
Yeah, so that's like part of what I said. What about like what you really believe, like maybe before I spoke any of that, or like what's your, you know, take on marriage and its validity or its necessity or lack thereof?
My opinions, they matter. What?
Yeah, your opinions
Let's hear
do
what
matter.
you got, Faye.
I enjoy commitment, but I am also afraid of being alone. So I don't think I should have an opinion right now. To be honest, I don't think I'm, like, healed enough or in my power enough to, like, fully know, I guess. Because, like, I value, like, his perspectives. He's been around literal so many more blocks than me from his hitchhiking days and everything. So I just kind of try to, you know, observe. I think it'd be cute. Like, I got this really expensive wedding dress that I designed. Now I'm just gonna, like, wear it to festivals or whatever. Like, like, it's not necessary. Yeah, I was gonna get married, and then COVID happened, so it didn't happen. And then my fiance turned into a girl, so then it really didn't happen. So yeah.
We can touch on that later.
Yeah. So that right there proves, like, if I got married to that person, like, they were not the one. I thought they were, but it turns out I was wrong. So I don't know.
So is it safe to say that you're still sorting out your views on all of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair.
It's an interesting world in which like 2/3 of marriages fail. You know, I mean,
is that the statistic that they're saying
now? That's the
now?
approximate statistic.
Yeah. How about a pee break?
Whatever. Yeah.
Let's take a quick pause.
Bam, bam.